Incredible moment, CEO discovers little girl sleeping on trash, her life-changing truth revealed. The sun barely peeked over the Chicago skyline when Rachel Reed, a relentless 32-year-old CEO, sprinted through the bustling streets. Her heels clicked against asphalt, echoing the intense rhythm of her life. A swirl of commuters brushed past her, each locked in their own world, but Rachel's mind raced, filled with visions of pitch decks, investor meetings, and the endless grind of her tech startup. This was her domain. She was the embodiment of the American dream, all grit and ambition. Yet, today, something felt different. As Rachel rounded a corner, she stopped dead in her tracks. A gut-wrenching sight pierced through the chaos of the city: a little girl, no more than 7, curled up on a pile of trash in a dingy alley. The flutter of helplessness began in her chest. How could this be? For a moment, time froze. The world fell away as she took cautious steps toward the girl, her heart pounding. She knelt down, brushing away strands of matted hair to reveal a frail face smudged with dirt. Who is she? Rachel thought. How did she get here? Rachel learned the girl's name was Lily. She had been sleeping there, caught in a web of heartbreak spun by misfortune. Her parents had lost their jobs during the economic downturn, their lives unraveling into an endless struggle for survival. Strangely, amidst her hardship, Lily radiated an unexpected spark. Rachel watched as Lily clutched a handful of trinkets she crafted from scraps, tiny birds fashioned from bottle caps and woven threads, her little treasures that she sold to help her family. Torn between the soaring demands at the startup and her newfound compassion, Rachel struggled with her position. She felt the crushing weight of corporate expectations and personal ambition bearing down on her. Should she follow the path to success, or was there something greater calling her? Last week's failed charity fundraiser haunted her mind. Would her efforts ever amount to anything meaningful? Before she could lose herself in despair, a fire ignited within her. Rachel began to engage with local nonprofits, connecting with like-minded people eager for social change. Each visit to Lily deepened their bond, exposing the painful realities wrapped in her childhood joy. Rachel witnessed the resilient spirit of the girl as she crafted, pouring her heart into art that echoed her struggle. It became clear, to help Lily, she needed to confront her own biases about class and privilege. It was an internal conflict that rattled her soul. Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Driven by a newfound purpose, Rachel pitched an idea for her tech startup to partner with a community nonprofit, envisioning a platform that would uplift families like Lily's. She imagined stories shared, shining a light on their struggles, sparking compassion in potential investors. The journey was slow, riddled with doubt. Would she lose her identity as a business leader? The tension brewed within her. Finally, Rachel stood on the stage at a community event, heart racing as Lily and her parents arrived as guests of honor. The spotlight illuminated their faces, revealing the joy in their eyes, a moment of hope blossoming within pain. As the family shared their story, Rachel felt the resonance of community support wrapping around her. Applause echoed like a heartbeat. But as cheers erupted, a question lingered in her mind: could she truly reconcile her corporate success with grassroots change, helping families like Lily's rise from the shadows? Standing on the edge of her decision, she felt everything shifting. The days that followed the community event buzzed with a mix of excitement and uncertainty for Rachel. She had ignited a spark, but the question of how to fan that flame lingered. Investors were intrigued, but skepticism simmered beneath their interest. Could a tech startup genuinely make a difference in the lives of families like Lily's? Each email and phone call was a fresh wave of anxiety, her heart racing as she reeled from the weight of expectations. To clear her mind, Rachel decided to spend more time with Lily. Every visit brought new insights, but also a stark reality check. One afternoon, while they sat together in a makeshift workshop offered by the nonprofit clipping, painting, and crafting, Rachel couldn't help but notice the way Lily's hands danced with skill, turning trash into treasure. Each piece told a story she wished to share with the world. "Why do you make these?" Rachel asked, curious. Lily paused, her little eyebrows knitted with thought. "To make people smile," she said simply, her voice steady yet vulnerable. Rachel's heart tugged. How much did this child understand about the world? More than many adults, she realized, as Lily continued, sometimes they don't see us. But when they see my art, it's different. They notice. That night, as sleep eluded Rachel, she replayed Lily's words in her mind. Shouldn't that be the heart of her startup? Not just helping people, but giving them a voice. What if they co-created this platform? Would it truly resonate? The thought brewed a sense of hope in her, igniting her ambition. However, she also felt the pull of her corporate life, meetings, deadlines, all the trappings of success that once fueled her dreams. But they paled in comparison to the joy she found in those moments with Lily. There was an urgency within her, and she began drafting a plan to include the very families she sought to uplift in her startup's vision. It was time to share the stage with them, to give them ownership of their stories. She envisioned a vibrant online community where families could connect, share, and sell their crafts. It was daring, revolutionary even. But would her investors see it that way? Rachel woke that morning with a newfound determination. She called an emergency meeting with her team. "We're shifting our focus," she announced. "This isn't just a business anymore, it's a movement." Skepticism greeted her words. Colleagues exchanged uncertain glances. "Isn't that risky?" one asked, eyebrows raised. "What about our bottom line?" But Rachel felt the fire of conviction bubbling inside her. "This is the bottom line. We have to ask, what does success truly mean?" She was met with silence, and the anticipation in the room hung heavy, charged with possibilities. Days turned into weeks as Rachel worked relentlessly. She refined her pitch, incorporating connections that could amplify their message. Still, doubt sometimes seeped in. Did she have the courage to balance profits with purpose? More importantly, could she convince those from her past high-powered investors and corporate giants to believe in a cause that was as human as it was business-driven? A pivotal moment arrived when Lily's family agreed to showcase their crafts at a local fair, a risk for their fragile finances, but a potential breakthrough for Rachel. The day of the fair dawned bright, but the air was thick with tension. As Lily stood with her parents beneath a canopy of colorful art pieces, Rachel was flooded with admiration. The little girl looked radiant, her spirit undeterred. As visitors began to trickle in, Rachel felt a surge of warmth. Was this the beginning of something greater? She stepped up, microphone in hand, prepared to share Lily's story and her vision for the startup, a bridge between worlds. But would anyone listen? Would they see the value in lifting others as they climbed? Just as Rachel was about to speak, a shadow loomed overhead. A familiar figure stepped forward from the crowd, a face from her past, the very investor she feared would dismiss her vision outright. Time seemed to stop as Rachel's heart raced. What would he say? Would he be the door to her dreams or seal them shut for good? Rachel's breath hitched in her throat as the crowd shifted and parted, revealing Jonathan Hayes, the formidable tech investor. His piercing gaze swept over the crafts displayed and then fixed on Rachel. The weight of his presence bore down on her, knotting her stomach. She could feel the collective tension around her, the chatter fading into whispers as if the world was waiting for his reaction. "Rachel," he said, his voice deep and steady, "this is quite the display." The warmth of the sun suddenly felt cold as uncertainty washed over her. This was the moment she envisioned, yet it felt heavier than she imagined. "Thank you, Jonathan," she managed, trying to keep her voice steady. I wanted to share something special today." He raised an eyebrow, and the smirk on his lips suggested skepticism. Rachel quickly glanced at Lily, whose small face mirrored a mix of excitement and confusion. If anyone could see the truth in this moment, it was that bright-eyed girl. Taking a deep breath, Rachel pressed on. Lily is not just an artist, she represents so many families who have stories worth sharing. Our startup aims to give them a platform to express themselves, to sell their crafts, and to connect with others. The weight of Rachel's words hung in the air, the vulnerability of her vision pouring out alongside her conviction. She looked to Lily again, hoping to find strength in her eyes. The girl, with a glue stick in one hand and a painted bird in the other, grinned at Rachel, and in that fleeting moment, Rachel's resolve rekindled. "What's different about this?" Jonathan's question came, laced with challenge. "Do you really think people will care enough to pay for what they can find made at home or in thrift stores?" Rachel felt a rush of indignation, but before she could react, a voice piped up from the crowd. "It's much more than that." A woman stepped forward, animated. "Lily's art represents hope. It inspires us to look beyond what we see. There's beauty in the effort. We want to support this." Rachel's heart leaped as she sensed the supportive murmurs ripple through the crowd. Hope hung in the air like the scent of blooming flowers, an intoxicating aroma that pushed her forward. "It's about connection," Rachel said fervently, her eyes meeting Jonathan's. "Giving families a way to tell their stories through their crafts, to share their talents, and to create value from their experiences. That's something worth investing in." Jonathan's brow furrowed slightly. Rachel remembered the countless hours she'd spent preparing for this pitch, her hands shaking as doom loomed over her uncertain future. But in that moment, as she looked around, she saw not just critics or investors, she saw potential allies. Lily took a step forward, holding out one of her crafted pieces, a small bird made from discarded materials. "This is my bird, and it flies high, like my dreams. I want everyone to know they can fly, too." The little girl's voice rang pure, cutting through the lingering tension like a bell. Jonathan blinked, visibly taken aback. A smile flickered across his lips, softening his sharp features. For the first time, he seemed to consider the possibility of Rachel's vision. Rachel's heartbeat thudded in her ears, hope surging within her. But just as the momentum began to shift, she felt a pang of doubt return. Was it substantial enough to convince not just Jonathan but the swarm of onlookers? "Rachel," Jonathan said, his voice holding a new weight, "let's talk about this. Can you really harness this passion into a viable business?" The intensity of the moment hung, and Rachel realized she was being given an opportunity, a chance to turn her vision into something that could grow. The stakes felt higher than ever, with every eye watching, waiting for her answer. What if she dared to seize this moment? What if she opened herself fully and embraced the fear and uncertainty? With every ounce of courage within her, Rachel nodded. "I believe we can. I want to make history with every family's story." But behind that statement lingered another thought, one that unsettled her even more. What if the reality was a struggle she didn't foresee? As Rachel stepped back, the air filled with murmurs, questions, and a flicker of excitement was igniting. Yet, Rachel couldn't shake the feeling that the true challenge was only just beginning. What would it take to truly bridge that gap between dreams and reality? And would they have the courage to fly high together when the winds became fierce? As the murmurs of the crowd began to rise, Rachel felt her heart pounding in her chest. She could almost hear the collective breath being held around her, a mix of skepticism and hope hanging in the air. This moment was fragile, like the delicate craft surrounding her, and she had to cradle it carefully. Jonathan's expression shifted slightly, and she wondered if he was weighing her words against some mental ledger of risk and reward. Would he really take a chance on something that seemed so precarious? "You say it's about connection," he said, folding his arms. "What does that look like tangibly?" Rachel forced herself to take a step back and look at the bigger picture. "It looks like families coming together to create and share. It looks like bridging gaps between generations, and connecting people who may never have crossed paths otherwise." She gestured to the crowd. Look around. You see artists, mothers, fathers, they're looking for a way to put their dreams into action. Lily shuffled beside her, clutching her little bird made of discarded soda cans and old paper. There was a magic in that simple creation. Rachel remembered how proud Lily had been when she placed the finishing touches on it. This represents resilience, Rachel said, her voice taking on a fervent quality. Like Lily, many of us want to fly free from our circumstances. The crowd murmured again, drawn into the warmth of her words. But Jonathan remained silent, his expression unreadable. The longer he hesitated, the more Rachel felt her gut twist with doubt. A heavy tension settled over the gathering, and Rachel glanced at Lily. The girl's bright eyes sparkled with a mix of enthusiasm and confusion, as though she sensed the stakes were high. It's not just art, Rachel continued, seeking to amplify the emotions swirling amongst them. It's about empowerment. It's about telling our stories, and doing it together. Everyone has something to share. Just then, a man from the crowd, a local father, spoke out. My daughter loves crafting. She feels proud when she creates something with her hands, just like Lily. This is what makes us human. His voice was charged with heartfelt conviction. We need to support this, for them and for us. It's more than a business, it's a movement. Rachel felt the excitement rippling through the air again, drawing more support like a magnet. Even Jonathan seemed to soften, his arms uncrossing slowly. I hadn't considered the emotional angle, he admitted, glancing at Lily and then back to Rachel. If you can show those stories are marketable. Rachel seized the moment, her voice turning resolute. We can create platforms for families to showcase their crafts, share their stories, and build real connections. Imagine an online marketplace fueled by pride and shared experiences. Think of it as Etsy meets community art fairs. The crowd erupted in cheers, and Rachel felt adrenaline surge, drowning out her doubts. Maybe, just maybe, this was the breakthrough she craved, but as the crowd's energy built, fear still danced on the edges of her mind. What if launching this platform meant exposing not just her vision but also herself to criticism and financial risk? What if it faltered beyond repair? Could she protect the dream while opening herself up to that vulnerability? Jonathan cleared his throat, pulling her back from the abyss of uncertainty swirling in her thoughts. If I'm to support this, Rachel, I need to see real data, projected profits, market analysis, strategies. Can you pull that together? Rachel felt the weight of his request settle on her shoulders like a heavy cloak. She nodded, trying to mask her apprehension. Yes, I'll be ready. But the doubt gnawed at her, weaving together threads of fear and responsibility. As the crowd buzzed with enthusiasm, Rachel took a moment to breathe deeply. She'd crossed a threshold, but what lay ahead? Would she rise to the occasion, or fly too close to the sun? With adrenaline thrumming through her veins, Rachel could only think of one thing: it was time to prepare for the real battle ahead, the one that would determine if their dreams could soar. Would she have what it took to turn this hope into a reality, or would they crash down when faced with the harsh winds of reality? Rachel leaned against the makeshift table, feeling its rough wood under her palm. The cheers of the crowd felt distant now, overshadowed by the whirlwind of thoughts crashing through her mind. There was clarity in her vision: community, connection, creativity, but the realities of logistics loomed large, like storm clouds on the horizon. Lily still stood by her side, innocence radiating from her small form. Rachel looked down, meeting her gaze. How do we make this happen, kid? She whispered, half to herself. But the girl only smiled back, blissfully unaware of the weight pressing on Rachel's shoulders. That smile reminded her of why she was fighting so hard. As Rachel's heart raced, she noticed Jonathan talking to a few other community members. They gestured animatedly, and dawn broke within Rachel. If this had a shot at thriving, she needed help beyond just numbers and projections. It was about rallying a community, not just convincing investors. Excuse me. Rachel called out, her voice sharper than she intended. Heads turned. Let us keep this energy going. If we want to turn ideas into action, we need to join forces. This isn't just my vision, it's ours. A young woman in the front row raised her hand, excitement lighting up her face. I can help with marketing. My friend runs a blog about local art and crafts. Rachel nodded eagerly. Perfect. Anyone else? I can draft plans for an event, chimed in another voice. This time, it was a retired teacher who had stored away years of untold knowledge that could be crucial. Suddenly, Rachel felt a warm flicker of hope spark inside her. They were coming together, as she had imagined. And as this wave of ideas flowed, so too did the thrill of possibility. As they brainstormed, she caught snippets of laughter and encouragement echoed throughout the crowd. Everyone was feeding off each other's enthusiasm, knitting connections. The chamber of their creativity was vibrant, growing more colorful with every contribution. Amidst the chatter, Rachel's phone buzzed insistently in her pocket, shattering her feeling of unity for a fleeting moment. Glancing down, she saw a reminder about her meeting with Jonathan to discuss the metrics. Guys, I have to take care of some numbers soon, she admitted, feeling reluctant to step away from the excitement blooming in the air. But I want to keep this momentum rolling. Keep brainstorming and find a way to channel this into something tangible. Rachel stepped aside, searching for a quieter corner. The weight of her upcoming meeting with Jonathan gnawed at her. She couldn't let her doubts resurface now. The sun made its descent, spilling a golden glow over the gathering. She closed her eyes for a brief moment, letting the warmth wrap around her, along with the movie-like visions of their transformed lives, all fueled by a shared passion. But behind those gleaming images, she could almost hear Jonathan's cautious tone, the money figures, the doubts, the fears. She opened her eyes, determination coursing through her. What if they see the impact? She thought. What if I could show them that this movement isn't just possible, but essential? Rachel reached for her notepad and began scribbling her thoughts. The ideas flowed, painting vivid pictures of the connections they could forge. Each sketch represented a family crafted from resilience, stories woven into art. But just as inspiration struck, a voice broke through her concentration. Rachel? It was Jonathan, his brow furrowed in thought. I'm glad you're integrating the community, but just remember. She groaned inwardly. She couldn't let him sap her energy now. She needed to find that balance between their shared vision and the cold demands of reality. I know what I want to build, Rachel replied, meeting his eyes with fiery resolve. But I can't do it alone. I need this community behind me, and I am going to show you the data that can prove it. The gleam of resolve in her eyes seemed to catch Jonathan off guard. But a single doubt still flickered in his gaze. Okay, but the numbers matter. Can you pull them together by next week? Could she? The time pressure bore down like a vice. She nodded, forcing confidence into her voice. Absolutely. Just believe in what we're building. And as she turned back to the gathering, the energy surged anew, filling the space with possibility. Rachel felt the warmth of the crowd again, the hope revitalizing her spirit. But one question loomed larger each second: what if the pressure turned too great, and cracks began to show in her dream? With the clock ticking and futures hanging in the balance, the stakes were higher than ever. The following week, Rachel plunged into a whirlwind of preparation. Each day morphed into a blur of meetings, spreadsheets, and sleepless nights fueled by a relentless desire to prove herself. As the sun rose and set, the urgency of her mission settled deeper into her bones. She had less than a week to impress Jonathan and the stakeholders. Meanwhile, outside her control, her community blossomed. Rachel often returned to the gathering place after the long hours, seeking solace among the laughter and exchanged ideas. With Lily by her side, she watched as people formed bonds beyond simple collaboration. Friends forged from shared hopes appeared, budding artists found allies in the older generation, everyone was sharing stories, igniting further creativity. Each night became a promise of fellowship, lighting a fire in Rachel's soul even when exhaustion threatened to dim it. One evening, as Rachel scrolled through the data she decompiled, her heart sank. Numbers, metrics, forecasts. It all felt so cold compared to what she truly wanted to showcase: the connection, the vibrancy of shared dreams. Just then, she noticed Lily, sitting cross-legged on the floor, adorned in her new art supplies. She watched her daughter doodle colorful random shapes with abandon. "What are you drawing, sweet pea?" Rachel asked, her voice softening. Lily glanced up, eyes bright with excitement. "I'm making a new sign for the community garden. Look." She turned the paper to reveal a childlike but spirited drawing of flowers intertwined with smiley faces. Rachel smiled, and a thought struck her. A spark of inspiration ignited, forcing the numbers and spreadsheets into the background for a moment. What if we showcase the heart of this place? The passion that flows? That's what they should see, the human side of this project. Excited, Rachel reached for a new paper and began jotting down ideas. Every child's drawing, every story of design and creation brought them together, crafted dignity from art, and bonded the community. They were pieces of a greater narrative waiting to be portrayed in living color, but just as she began to flesh out this concept, Jonathan knocked at the door, interrupting her flow. He stepped into the room, looking tired yet determined, his brow furrowing again as he surveyed the notes sprawled around her. "Rachel, I wanted to check in. How's the data coming along?" Her heart quickened. This was the moment. "Jonathan, I think I have an idea. The community, what it truly represents, this is what we need to showcase." He raised an eyebrow. "So you want to change your approach?" "They need to see not just numbers, but the life behind those numbers. How this project impacts families, how it fuels creativity. If we can show the heart, they might see its true worth." Jonathan stayed silent, mulling it over. Rachel felt her nerves increase. Would he dismiss her idea again? Was every bit of inspiration worth her determination when faced with daunting data? Then, in the quiet of the room, his expression softened. "That's bold, Rachel. But how? These investors want clear returns, and they might not value heart alone. I can show them both. I'll integrate real testimonials, stories from the community. If they see the impact on lives, then the figures will follow." He nodded, finally appearing intrigued but still cautious. "You might be onto something. But will you have enough time to pull this together? What if it's not enough?" Rachel inhaled deeply, the stakes weighing heavy. "I can't let fear dictate this. We owe it to the people who invested their hope in us. I can do this." But could she really? As the days slipped by, Rachel poured her heart into the project, drafting stories, collecting sketches, planning an event that would bring everyone together. Each evening buzzed with energy and anticipation, but the looming deadline pressed on her like a stone in her gut. Yet, just as she thought she'd nailed it, doubt crept in. What if they didn't see the value she was seeing, and everything crumbled before her? With hours dwindling and hope hanging in the balance, Rachel found herself questioning if all of this would be enough. "Do or die," she whispered to herself, staring at the clock. "Will it be enough?" The moment was almost upon them, and Rachel knew that everything depended on how deeply she could inspire a belief, not just in her vision, but in the power of community. But as she braced for the biggest presentation of her life, the surprising twist awaited just around the corner. What else might emerge that could change everything? Rachel barely slept that night, her mind racing with possibilities. The weight of the presentation loomed over her like a heavy cloud. The community's stories swirled together in her thoughts, each as vibrant as the sketches it birthed. She imagined families sharing laughter, children creating art, neighbors supporting one another, a whirlwind of life flashing before her eyes. The morning came too quickly. With a deep breath, she slipped into her favorite dress, hoping it would lend her some of the confidence she yearned for. As she hurried out the door, she glanced back at Lily, still garlanded in dreams. Would her daughter understand the stakes? Rachel felt a rush of urgency, she had to make this work, not just for herself, but for everyone counting on her. Arriving at the venue, Rachel was enveloped by a mix of anticipation and anxiety. She sought out Jonathan, who was pacing nervously. "You look great," he said, though the worry in his eyes belied his words. "Thanks. I'm ready to show them," Rachel replied, pushing aside her self-doubt. As the stakeholders began to fill the room, Rachel walked to the front, her heart pounding. She glanced at the empty seats and reminded herself to focus on the people they represented. There would be families, children, artists. This wasn't just about numbers, it was about lives. "Good afternoon everyone," she started, her voice trembling slightly. "Today, I want to share stories that matter." With each slide, her voice steadied. She showed photos of community gardens bursting with color, children planting seeds in the dirt, and artists hanging their work with joy. The faces in the audience began to shift as they felt the warmth seep in. A hushed silence filled the room as she shared testimonials, touching snippets of lives transformed. Then, she took a chance. "In the midst of all this growth, there is a story that specifically struck me," she said, glancing at Jonathan for support. "Just last week, I met a little girl in the neighborhood." She paused, the memory flooding back. "Lily and I had just finished collecting art supplies when we stumbled upon a young girl sleeping beside a trash bin. She was covered in paint, but her face? It was illuminated with dreams. It was a stark reminder of why this community project holds such importance. We shouldn't just build for the sake of numbers, we build for every dream tucked away amid hardship." The audience shifted in their seats, some exchanging glances. Rachel pushed forward, determined to hold their attention. "Her name is Mia. She told me about how she dreams of painting murals that will brighten concrete walls, and how her friends are talented dancers who want to perform at their local park. It's not just about numbers, it's about sparking creativity and lifting up voices that otherwise go unheard." Rachel took a breath, letting the moment settle. Those dreams matter. This project is here to give kids like Mia room to grow, thrive, and dream even bigger. The room felt charged with possibility, yet a swell of anxiety rose in her chest. Would they connect? Would they see beyond her shaky voice? Then, as if reading her thoughts, Jonathan offered a nod of encouragement from the back. She saw it and felt a boost. She wasn't alone. As she wrapped up, she saw some stakeholders lean in, their expressions thoughtful. But as applause erupted, Rachel felt a surge of dread. Could her heartfelt attempt be enough to win them over? Would they feel the urgency she felt for Mia and the others? And then it happened. A woman in a tailored suit stood up. "Rachel, that was inspiring," she said, her voice steady. "But this Mia, will she be with us when we move forward?" Rachel froze. She hadn't anticipated this question. This was it, a crossroads moment. The room buzzed with anticipation. What could she say? Is Mia planning to join us? The stakeholder pressed, Rachel's heart raced. She hadn't planned that far. Yes. Absolutely, she will, Rachel said, more confidently than she felt, wrapping herself in a torrent of hope. Could this decision unravel everything she'd worked for? The tension in Rachel's chest tightened further. Maybe she had taken a leap without looking. Would Mia's story help lift them all, or had she committed to something she couldn't fulfill? As the meeting winds down, Rachel's pulse quickened, sensing the stakes rising higher than ever. What ripples might this bold move create as they continued this journey? Rachel stood at the front of the room, her heart still racing from the unexpected question. The applause faded into a murmur of discussion, and for a moment, she felt like the world was tilting beneath her. Could she really commit to bringing Mia into this project without knowing the full scope of what it would entail? What if Mia's reality was too complicated to fit into the neat plans she'd laid out? Jonathan caught her eye again, and this time he moved closer. "You did great," he whispered, his voice full of warmth. But Rachel could see the concerns etched in the furrow of his brow. Thanks, she replied, her voice barely above a whisper. But I think I just made a promise I can't keep. Let's talk later. Focus on getting people excited. He squeezed her shoulder reassuringly, then drifted back into the crowd. As the meeting concluded, Rachel watched various stakeholders approach one another, discussing her presentation. They were excited, there was no doubt about that. But her heart didn't settle. What awaited in the coming days felt monumental. Was she ready to face whatever came next? Once the room started clearing, Rachel found herself alone with the lingering emptiness of the space. She walked to the board displaying their community visions, bright artwork scrawled by children, filled with hope and dreams. The vibrant colors washed over her, reminding her of those dreams and the weight of her commitment. Later that evening, as the familiar rattle of keys broke the silence, Rachel was taken back to reality. Lily bounded in, her face lit up with the day's excitement. "Mommy! I drew a picture today, just like Mia. It's of our house with a rainbow." Rachel's heart swelled as she bent down to embrace her daughter. "I can't wait to see it, sweetheart," she said, her voice warm with affection. But as Lily showed her art, the shadow of doubt crept into Rachel's mind again. "Mom, you know what?" Lily said, looking straight into Rachel's eyes. "Can we invite Mia for playdates? She should come to our house." Rachel hesitated, the small weight of Lily's request sitting heavy on her heart. How could she explain the complexities of their lives to a child? Yet, before she could answer, Lily's innocent excitement took center stage. "You're going to make her dreams come true, right?" The question hung in the air, heavy and sweet. Rachel touched the crayon drawing, suddenly feeling the enormity of her promise. Mia was not just a name, she was a living, breathing girl yearning for change. And here was Lily, embodying the hope Rachel was trying to give to others. "Of course, honey," Rachel finally said, determined to hold on to that glimmer of possibility. The next few days raced past in a blur of emails, meetings, and preparations. Each time she considered contacting Mia, something fluttered in her stomach. She felt terrified, overwhelmed by the potential for failure. She had no clue how to navigate meeting Mia, joining their worlds together. But the thought of leaving Mia's dreams unpursued filled her with guilt. On the final day before the stakeholders met again to discuss their plans, Rachel heard a knock on the door. She opened it to find a familiar petite figure standing there, paint-stained but undeniably radiant. It was Mia, holding a small canvas under her arm. "Hello, Miss Rachel," Mia said shyly, glancing up with wide, shining eyes. "I wanted to show you what I made." Rachel's heart sank and soared in equal measure. This was at the moment she had both craved and dreaded. "I'm so glad you came," she stammered, her mind racing to prepare for the conversation she needed to have. Mia stepped closer, excitement glowing like sunlight. "It's a mural," she said simply. "For our neighborhood." And just like that, Rachel realized the journey was unfolding before her eyes, not just her own, but Mia's and Lily's, and all the dreams waiting to bloom. What would happen when she finally took that leap to support Mia and their dreams? Could she transform that raw potential into a reality? As Rachel took a step forward, something clicked into place. It was more than just a promise, it was a beginning. But would she be able to fulfill this commitment, or would the weight of her choice become too much to bear? The sunlight spilled into Rachel's living room, casting golden patterns across the floor. It was a new day, and as the sun shone, it illuminated the excitement and anxiety swirling within her. Rachel was still processing Mia's visit from the night before. The mural, a vibrant splash of colors and shapes, possessed an energy so pure it was hard to ignore. But beneath that excitement lay palpable fear. Could she really unlock something amazing for Mia? Rachel paced the floor, the rhythm of her steps echoing her racing thoughts. She needed a plan. A meeting with the stakeholders was looming, and it felt like her chance to truly give Mia the future she deserved. But what if they didn't share her vision? What if they wanted to keep things within the confines of safe, predictable proposals, minutes turned into hours, the clock ticking relentlessly as Rachel jotted down ideas in the margins of her notebook. She envisioned the mural transforming the neighborhood bright, smiling faces everywhere, children at play, and Mia standing in the center, her paintbrush in hand, creating beauty where there was once despair. "Mommy!" Startled, Rachel turned to see Lily's wide eyes peeking around the doorframe. Her daughter's excitement was infectious. "Can we go to the park today? I want to take my new scooter." Rachel forced a smile, grateful for the distraction. "Of course, sweet pea. Let me just finish this up and we'll head out." A short while later, Rachel and Lily arrived at the park, the atmosphere buzzing with laughter and the chatter of children. As Lily sped off, leaving a trail of joy behind her, Rachel settled onto a nearby bench with her notebook. Thoughts full of Mia, she watched her daughter weave through her friends, a kaleidoscope of innocence and happiness, but even as Rachel observed, her mind remained preoccupied. The weight of Mia's situation was heavy and looming. She remembered Mia's bright eyes, filled with hope. Rachel's heart ached at the thought of the life Mia might be escaping, one marked by uncertainty and struggle. The mural could be her way out, her chance to dream. Suddenly, a shout broke through her reverie. A group of kids was crowded around a fallen tree, laughing, shouting, and poking at something through the foliage. Curiosity tugged at Rachel, she couldn't ignore the ruckus. She made her way over to see what all the fuss was about. When she arrived, she found a small puppy curled up in the grass, trembling and frightened. The children formed a ring around it, unsure of what to do, but their wide eyes mirrored Rachel's heart full of compassion for something so helpless. "Hey, let us give him some space," Rachel said gently, kneeling down to get a closer look at the puppy. It had scruffy fur and was clearly in need of care. "We need to be kind." Slowly, the children began to back away while Rachel reached out, allowing the puppy to sniff her hand first. Something about its shaky little body tugged at her heartstrings, just as Mia's dreams had the day before. And just like that, a possibility struck her. The same way she was giving this puppy a chance, she could offer Mia a chance too. Rachel's thoughts raced. With the help of her community, they could find a way to not just help Mia, but uplift others like her. Ideas sparked like fireworks in her mind. "Guys, we can set up a fundraiser or adoption event," she said, turning her eager tone toward the kids. "For animals and for Mia's mural project. What do you think?" The enthusiasm bubbled among the children, laughter filling the air. As Rachel looked at her daughter joyfully interacting with her friends, her spirit lifted. Maybe this was the light she and Mia needed, a chance to bring them all together. The moment felt monumental, but questions swirled around in her mind. Would her plan be enough? As they nestled back into the park routine, Rachel surveyed the scene before her, the connection blossoming between kids and animals, hope sparking in every interaction. She felt that the walls she had built were beginning to crack, but just as she started to feel hopeful, a chill crept in. Was she ready for this leap? How would she approach Mia with this idea? "Mommy." Lily's voice brought Rachel back. "Can we help the puppy? Can we take him home?" Rachel paused, her heart heavy with the weight of possibilities. "We can try, sweetheart, but we have to make sure he is safe first." "And what about Mia?" The question lingered in the air, heavy with meaning. Would she have the courage to follow through, or would fear lead her back to safety? "Let us go see what we can do," Rachel finally replied, a mix of determination and trepidation in her heart. With every step in Mia's direction, Rachel felt that weight growing lighter, but the journey was just beginning. What would it take to truly make Mia's dreams come true? Would Rachel find the strength to champion not only Mia but the hopes of others who felt lost? The sun broke over the horizon once again, spilling warm light into Rachel's life as she stood at the edge of the park, excitement steeped in nervous anticipation. Today was the day she would unveil her idea to the community, a fundraiser to support Mia's mural project and provide a platform for kids like her. It shimmered in her mind, an event bursting with creativity and connection, a spark of hope igniting in the hearts of those who had long been overlooked. Rachel's heart raced as she set up a table, adorned with Lily's drawings and Mia's vibrant artwork, all carefully displayed in colorful array. The message echoed in her mind: every piece tells a story. Each piece of art represented not just the joy of creation but the strength and resilience of a community eager to lift each other up. As parents and children began to gather, murmurs of intrigue swelled in the air. Rachel's hands trembled slightly, the weight of expectation pressing down. This wasn't just about raising money, it was about creating a change. Lily stood by her side, her face alight with joy, bustling around the table, eager to show her friends. "Look! My bird is flying high!" she exclaimed, pointing to a colorful drawing that she had completed, naive and pure in its emotional connection. "Will you help us make a mural too?" Mia's voice rang clear and bright. She stepped forward, clutching her canvas tightly, a reflection of herself vibrant, hopeful, and scared. "Yes. Together, we can bring this neighborhood to life," Rachel responded passionately, kneeling to meet Mia eye to eye. Those words felt like a promise, and in that moment, Rachel felt the weight of their shared dreams binding them closer together. As laughter mingled with music from a nearby stage, Rachel cleared her throat, feeling the urgency swelling inside her. "Thank you all for being here. Today, we gather not just for art, but for every dream waiting to soar. We want to give families like Mia's a platform to express themselves. Let us make something beautiful together." Applause erupted, ringing in her ears, and she felt her spirit lift higher. Children beamed, parents shared knowing smiles, and soon stories began to pour out, families contributing ideas for art projects, sharing their own stories, and expressing hopes for a brighter future. As the day wove on, Rachel watched with swelling pride. The community had ignited with inspiration, the air buzzed with encouragement. A woman approached her with a donation and a proposal: "I know some artists, let us create workshops." Then came a father who ran a local cafe: "Let us feature these artworks on our walls. I want to support this." Moments turned into memories, each interaction a spark lighting the way forward. The doubts that had once clouded Rachel's heart began to dissipate, replaced by a bright conviction. This was just the beginning. With every child's laughter and every adult's encouragement, Rachel felt the tide turning, a shift from despair to hope. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in hues of orange and pink, Rachel slipped beside Mia, who was busy sketching her mural. "You believe we can really do this?" Rachel asked softly, her voice steady. Mia dipped her paintbrush, her face lit by determination. "Yes. Just like you said. Together." That promise echoed in Rachel, thunderous and real. She grasped Mia's hands, feeling the warmth radiating between them. "Then let us fly high, together." And at that moment, amidst the swirling laughter, vibrant colors, and blooming hopes, Rachel realized that the threads of their stories had woven an unbreakable tapestry of connection. Community, art, and dreams no longer separate, but intertwined. As the day came to a close, Rachel surveyed the joyful chaos around her, her heart full. She had stepped away from the shackles of doubt and embraced the uncertainty of the future. Life didn't have to be predictable, it could be a beautiful journey, one that would weather storms and rise anew, grounded in love and community. This was it, a new dawn, and the first brushstrokes on a mural of hope. You need to subscribe now to not miss the next exclusive stories that inspire. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and keep the momentum going. Comment below with your reactions and feelings about this ending. We want to hear from you, and don't wait not even one more second. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. Your support matters, and only true fans understand the importance of uplifting each other through these actions.